So the last section of Unit 7, we're going to talk about factorials. So a factorial works if you have an integer that's greater than or equal to 0. The factorial symbol is your exclamation point. And just a couple definitions of factorial. 0 factorial is equal to 1. 1 factorial is also equal to 1. And what a factorial means, it is the product of a number and all of its previous integers. So for example, n factorial would be equal to n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 times da-da-da-da-da. Goes on forever. So for example, if you have a 4 factorial, 4 factorial is equal to 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. There is a factorial key on your calculator. If you go to your calculator and you go under Math, go all the way to the right. Let me put this up so the lighting is. You go to Math, go all the way to the right to CRV, and it is option number 4. So that's where you can get your factorial key. You go to Math, CRV, and it's option number 4. And again, it's the exclamation point. The largest number you can type on your calculator using the factorial is a 69 factorial. Any number larger than that on your calculator, you'll get an error message. Any factorial can be rewritten as a number times its previous factorial. So for example, 9 factorial you can rewrite as 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 factorial, for example. Or you could write it as 9 times 8 factorial. So a lot of times you're going to be asked to simplify quotients. So you want to keep your smaller factorial expression and change the larger factorial until you get to the smaller factorial expression. So for example, if you take a look at 7 factorial divided by 5 factorial, 7 factorial is your larger factorial. So what I want to do is I'm going to rewrite 7 factorial as 7 times 6 until I get down to the smaller number, which is 5, divided by 5 factorial. So then what I can do is I can cross out the 5 factorials. So I'm just left with 7 times 6, which is 42. Because remember, when you have 7 factorial, it's actually 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 5 factorial is actually 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So that's why what you want to do is rewrite the largest factorial down to your smaller factorial. So when you take a look at B, 25 factorial divided by 30 factorial, 30 factorial is your larger number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the 25 factorial alone. I'm going to rewrite 30 factorial as 30 times 29 times 28 times 27 times 26 times 25 factorial. And then what I can do is cross out the 25 factorial. So I'm left with 1 over 30 times 29 times 28 times 27 times 26. And again, you don't need to multiply those numbers out, especially if you don't have a calculator. So this idea also works when you're dealing with variables as your expression. So you have a number n divided by n minus 2 factorial. N is a larger number than n minus 2. So what I need to do is I need to rewrite n, break it down into n minus 2 factorial. So I can take n times its previous number, so I would subtract 1 from it, subtract 1 from n minus 1, which would give me an n minus 2 factorial, all divided by n minus 2 factorial. So I can cross out my n minus 2 factorial. That leaves me with an n times n minus 1. So n plus 4 factorial divided by n minus 1 factorial. Well, a number plus 4 is greater than a number minus 1. So n plus 4 factorial is my larger factorial. So I'm going to rewrite this as an n plus 4. Subtract 1 from this to find its previous number, so that would be an n plus 3. Subtract 1, that would give me an n plus 2, times n plus 1, times n minus 1. Notice all I'm doing is subtracting 1 to find its previous number, divided by n minus 1 factorial. So I can cross out the n minus 1 factorials. So I'm left with n plus 4 times n plus 3 times n plus 2 times n plus 1 times n. So that's how you simplify those factorials involving variables. So when you take a look at E, 2n minus 1 factorial divided by 2n plus 1 factorial. Well, 2 times n plus 1 is larger than 2 times n subtracting 1. So I'm going to leave my 2n minus 1 factorial alone. I'm going to divide it by, I'm going to take 2n plus 1, subtract 1 from this, which will leave me with a 2n, subtract 1 from 2n, which will give me a 2n minus 1 factorial. The 2n minus 1 factorials cancel out, so I'm left with 1 over 2n plus 1 times 2n. Now you want to be careful about coefficients to see if it's a part of the factorial or not. Notice in letter F, 5 is not a part of the factorial. 5 is not a coefficient of the n factorial. So the larger factorial is the n plus 2 factorial. So I'm going to leave my numerator alone. And I have to take n plus 2, subtract 1 from it, which is n plus 1, subtract 1 from this, which is n factorial. I'm just crossing out the n factorials, so that's leaving with 5 over n plus 2 times n plus 1. That's how you can use factorials and simplify expressions.